Hello, hello, how are you? I hope everyone is good. So, today let's talk about communication, communicating. Let's communicate and talk about communication. Communication is the interaction between two people or more, exchanging words, and they call that a verbal communication. And the non-verbal communication is the communication where there is no words. Okay, let's have a look at this video and then we'll take it from there. Okay, as you saw that this guy is playing the music instrument, no one is talking there. We can further conclude that this is a non-verbal communication because there are no spoken words. No one is talking there, but it's just the beat and then the guy play the saxophone, which means there is only the music, the combination of the music industry that are communicating, and as the result, the outcome, it's the good music. It was just the melodies that they were playing. No one was improvising. No one was improvising, but it was just the communication of the music. Okay, in the past, people used to send letters to places that are far from them as the form of communication. That is still happening even right now, but it's lightly happening because nowadays the world has changed. It has become into 21st century. Now we have different kinds of communication which are more interesting and are more funny and are more enjoyable, and they can even make you stay in the stay there using them for almost like 3 hours, just sitting there using those forms of communication. The world now has become better because now we have technology. The world we are living in is the third industrial revolution world, and we are heading to the fourth industrial revolution. I don't know when are we going to get there, but we are heading there, as they say. So in this third industrial revolution, well, like I said, people now are no longer using. I cannot say they are no longer using that form of communication where they write letters. They do, but in these times, there are a lot of forms of communication we are using. The point I'm driving you through is that we're gonna talk about e-communication. The lesson of the day today is e-communication. It's not now just communication, but there is an e at the beginning, which means electronic communication. What is an electronic communication? An electronic communication is the transmit of information using an electronic device. Nowadays we have cell phone. Cell phone was the first thing that was introduced as a form of communication during the 21st century. For the communication to happen there using a cell phone, you need three things. The first one, there must be a sender. Second one is the communication channel, and the third one, there must be a receiver. A sender, it can be a me talking to someone, and the communication channel that I will use, like I said, the first thing that came with 21st century as a form of communication, it was a cell phone. My cell phone is gonna be my communication channel, and the receiver, it's the person whom I will be talking with. He or she will receive the message. As times go by, a lot of communication, of electronic communication was introduced. Even now in the third industrial revolution, they are a form of communication. We're gonna look at them. We're gonna look to those forms of communication. They are plenty and they are enjoyable and they are costly. Some of them they are not that costly. First, let's look at the WhatsApp. WhatsApp is a software or an app that is downloaded through your cell phone or your laptop that you use to communicate with people. It transfers the message very fast. That's the advantage of the electronic communication. I mean that it transfers the message very fast. I send a message now, the receiver receives the message now. Unlike where I have to send a letter and the receiver receives that letter for like 5 days after. But in this third industrial revolution, things has changed. Furthermore, we have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have Instagram. Those are softwares, apps that are downloaded through your cell phone that you use to communicate with people. Same like WhatsApp, but the only different about the Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is that you upload pictures, you upload nice pictures, and you upload everything that you are doing in a day, so that people will see that now I'm cooking, now I'm washing, now I'm taking a shower, and people will communicate with you, responding there which soap you are using as you are taking a shower. We it's very nice and interesting what world has become right now. There are other academic ways of communication which I can count on. Firstly, let's look at Skype. We have Skype. Skype is a communication where you communicate with people as if you are there, because as you are communicating with them, you see them, but through a screen. It can be a screen of a cell phone or your PC, communicating using a PC. For instance, since we are having this pandemic of coronavirus, business people they used to communicate using it, Skype. I'm here maybe in South Africa communicating with someone who is in USA with the use of Skype. Just Skype, you see everything they are saying, you can hear, you see them. If they are standing up, you see that they are standing up because you see them in your screen. It's interesting what wealth has become. So now another form of an academic communication, it's an email. Email is not like WhatsApp. Email is not like Facebook. Email is not like Instagram, but it is academic. And when you are writing it, you need to be academic. Firstly, when you write an email, you need to make sure that the email you want to send it to is a good email, it's a correct email. No mistake are needed on the email, because if the email is incorrect, it's going to bounce back and come back and notifies you that the email you were trying to send, that it didn't go through due to the incorrect email address. Secondly, when you write an email, you need to have a subject line. Subject, what is it that you are going to talk about in this email? Thirdly, you need to greet. When you greet, you don't say hi on an email, but you say dear Mr., dear sir, or dear madam, or dear prof, or dear doctor, or dear minister. And then you write your email, you write it. At the end, you say thank you, and then you write regards, Mr. So and so, and then you send your email. If you want to attach the attachments there, on the email. So now let's look at the advantages and the disadvantages of using an email.
It is fast, you can send it at any time, it's not expensive, and its use lowers paper users. The disadvantage is that the person you are sending email to, you must make sure that he is having a data or is connected to NFI for him to receive an email. Virus is mostly transmitted through the attachment. There is no guarantee that your email is going to be read, and the weekend's email they always get let's move right along. In order for all these WhatsApp email things to happen, you need a communicating device. Your communicating device can be a cell phone, your laptop, and the computer. In order for you to transmit the information using the software tools that I have mentioned. Okay. Now, there is also another thing that you use so that you will be able to transfer the information, which is the Wi-Fi and the data and the Wi-Fi, which is gonna be enable you to communicate with other people. But the advantages of the Wi-Fi or the data is that it is cheap. Some network are cheap. Disadvantages, it is costly. Some network are not cheap. Some network for Wi-Fi are cheap. Some network for another Wi-Fi are not cheap. So there are disadvantages and advantages in communication. So now let's go to electronic communication itself and look whether is there any goods and bads there. Using electronic communication, it's good because it sends the communication very fast. It sends a message very fast. So everything is fast there. The disadvantages is about the data. Not everyone can afford 5 gig data for the whole month to communicate with people. That's the disadvantages of it. And another thing is that the communication devices, they are costly. Buying a laptop, you need to spend like 5,000, 10,000. Buying cell phone that can install WhatsApp, nowadays I can say 500. It depends which device you want to buy.